More in. So this librarian walks into.
Nope, we're live now. Okay.
No.
All right, Susan, I'll let you kick it off.
Good evening. Hello, everyone out there in on-air world. This is Susan Yotzi, and I'm your host for this evening. Welcome to Andy Jados, who is the principal at Big Walnut High School.
Hello.
Sunbury, and he is our administrator liaison to the OELMA board, and Kristen Macklin, who is the school library media specialist at Big Walnut High School. And they are here today to answer any questions you might have about escape rooms, about movable furniture, and the Innovation Center at Big Walnut High School. So take it away.
Is that dog 5 feet tall?
Kristen and Andy, go ahead and feel free if you want just to talk a little bit about the Innovation Center in general. That way people can also, as they're coming in and whatnot, can think of things to ask.
Would you like to start, or you want me to go, Kristen?
Go right ahead and talk.
Well, I think that obviously any great space starts with a great librarian, and we have that in Kristen. She does an outstanding job for us. And you know, our space, I mean, I think it's one that a lot of media centers have now. It has the flexible space, the chairs on wheels, the tables on wheels, the dry erase boards that are two-sided. We have technology there. We have all those things, but once again, our number one resource for sure is Kristen. But I think our teachers really like going up there. They like having a co-teacher in Kristen, and they really just love the space.
The best part of my job is the staff with whom I work. They're just amazing. They are allowing me to be creative while still keeping the library as a part of our building. You know, we didn't get rid of all books, but we did eliminate some. So it's important that to stay relevant, we just keep moving and changing with the times. I've been asked to describe the plan for escape rooms. It's very difficult to describe a plan because each one is designed specifically for the program or the class that is asking for the room. Myself and Jason Manley, who is our instructional coach, we design a series of puzzles that students will have to solve to escape from the Innovation Center, or in some cases to break into the Innovation Center or to do different tasks. But that is really, each one is specific to the class that we're designing it for. So it's hard to say what my plan looks like because it's fluid.
And I think, you know, this has been such a big hit at our school. And one thing I really like is that, you know, it's been all different subjects. I mean, we had, I think a couple of weeks ago, we had an accounting class that was here. We've had multiple math classes, which I've never heard of doing escape rooms before, or technically escape classrooms. That worked out awesome. And it actually even started, and Kristen can even talk about this, it actually even started from a teacher that wanted to do something different for a midterm exam for, I believe, her honors Spanish 4 class.
Yeah, and you know what? That was the one that just, we happened into it and we went to town. It's still probably my proudest moment because I feel like we came up with an interesting and fun way for them to prove their growth and their knowledge in Spanish. The grade was mostly based on their speaking, which I could not help grade, but it was nice just having another guide by the side to help move them through the puzzles. Do we create our puzzles? We do create our puzzles. We are always looking at articles and artifacts online, but we have not purchased anything pre-made or used plans from internet or any place else. We really have stayed true to ourselves and created everything original. It's really fun. It's nice being able to adapt for different levels of students and different kinds of activities.
And you know, one thing I would say, there's a question here about, you know, kind of how to get started. I mean, one thing that I would suggest, I know some people are throughout the state or some people are in Central Ohio, but we're just north of Central Ohio. You know, I think the best way to do it, you know, to coordinate with Kristen and to ask about when we have one. I think seeing it is probably the best way. I know not everybody can do that, but I think that helps. She's also, Kristen's also purchased a lot of, I guess, props maybe would be the right way to explain that, to help. I mean, and you know, one thing that we've done that also was really neat is we've had, and Kristen created this, but they'll have a lot of times the teachers go through it the day before and kind of a practice run, and that'll really help see what works, what didn't work, what they want to tweak. And I'll tell you, I love it. I love going through, and you know, when they did the math one, nobody's more competitive than our math teachers. They each wanted to be the first one out, and they've done everything from, there's a dictionary in the shelves, and you open it up, and it really is a fake book with something hidden in it. There's one where you had to take the black light over to the atlas, and then it had a secret message. She does a lot of different puzzles with the like the popsicle sticks to spell a word. The way to get out, we have a chain that pretends to lock the doors to leave, and the lock that you use, is it, I can't remember, is it letters, Kristen?
It's letters and numbers.
Letters and numbers, so you have to get that final clue to open it up. So there's so many different things, the activities that they do, and just to see these students collaborate. And then we have a Cuomo board. We have a large interactive TV that has the time on it. And then, you know, it'll say 30 minutes, 25 minutes, 20, and it really adds kind of that pressure of 10 minutes, 9 minutes, and it's constantly sharing the time that really gets the kids going.
I'm not going to lie. There are some kids that it doesn't matter what's going on. They're not going to be excitable about this. And it's kind of funny because Andy comes in and he's always excitable. So he's trying to get them perked up, and they are just like dead fish. And it's crazy.
But it depends. I mean, and I think sometimes a morning class or what have you, but we've had ones like when they did the one for Spanish class, they actually came in blindfolded, kind of a part of a hostage situation, and they had one hand on the shoulder ahead of them and walked in. And Kristen will always tell you this. It's key to have the teachers with the content, and she'll always say this, it's all about the backstory. We've had some really good backstories that I think have really helped on this. And then one more thing, I see a lot of people are asking for an OELMA session or a session at the conference for Kristen to do, and I know she's already thinking about it.
I'm already being pressured into it by many, but I think I'm going to do it. And we're actually considering trying to run part of the session as an escape room. So we'll see. We'll see what we can do.
And a lot of people don't know this, but just kind of a little inside behind the scenes with OELMA. Actually, when Susan came to interview us, we actually did. You didn't get to see that on the video, but we actually did lock her in a closet for 15 minutes to get out. So she had to figure out the puzzle before we let her out, but she did good.
Oh my, we've got jokes here.
Yep.
I would be happy to host anybody who would like to come up. I do know that I've had contact with some people who've been interested in seeing one of the escape room in action, and seeing it is definitely the important part. Communication with the teachers is another huge piece. It's really difficult when you have a teacher who isn't pulling their weight. And I'm not the best person at going after people to get them to come and help me. So that's something that I personally have to work on, but this whole project is worth it. It's worth looking into. It's worth putting the time and effort into it.
Well, and I think a big part of it, I mean, also having the, once you have one and kids start to talk about it and how exciting it is, I mean, that helps. And then, when she does the day before the practice run through and other teachers get to see it, I think that's a big help too. And it's obviously
almost contagious.
It is. Snowball. I agree.
And I'm also addicted to buying more and more toys for my escape room kit. I kind of get ridiculed for it, but it's when you see something, it's so exciting.
And we have a new question in. Really like to thank Lee from Zanesville. Been a big contributor here today. She's so far my MVP. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that or not, but I appreciate it.
Maybe you should send her a big Walnut t-shirt.
We'd love to send it. Yeah, we'd love to send it to Zanesville to her. If she comes in, we'll give her one. But the escape rooms, they are during the day. They're during regular class. The Spanish exam was during the exam period. So it's basically just a teacher that has, Algebra 1, third period, and they book our Innovation Center, our Media Center, and that's where they have that's where they go ahead and they do their lesson for the day. So that's how our Innovation Center is set up. I mean, probably like most of your media centers, that teachers can book it for the day or for certain periods and then have their lesson there. And just a shout out, of course, that was Lori Lee from Zanesville. I know we've had a lot of questions about the escape rooms, and I'm sure we'll get back to that. But and I know probably everybody on here does the same thing. But I think just being a resource and being there to talk to teachers, and when they want to go ahead and they book it on a Tuesday, she'll kind of ask them, "What are you doing?" or "How can I help you?" or "How can I set up?" and just start to have that conversation. And I think as far as the momentum with the escape rooms, it was the same thing when we first started the Innovation Center with really using Kristen to say, "Hey, boy, this is easier if I've got somebody that can plan with me, if I've got somebody that can co-teach with me, I want to be a part of it." So obviously her willingness to help is a huge asset. There is a question about the funding when we switch the furniture, and we have a fairly new space. Kristen can correct me, but I think it was roughly 10 years ago that it kind of got a remodel. But last year we went for a grant, and that's where we got the tables. We have rectangle tables. We also have ones in half circles that can just form different shapes. And then, once again, everything's on wheels. The podiums are on wheels. The chairs are on wheels. So that's really added, I think, just a lot of flexibility of what teachers can do there.
There you go. That right there is very important. A lot of the success is due to the supportive administrator. I totally agree with that. Andy is the best. He makes my job enjoyable. He makes my job worthwhile. He makes everything I do for a purpose. And it's to make him and to support him and to help him be better at his job.
Thank you.
And if you're interested in a kit, I did not buy the kit from Breakout EDU. I made my own. Feel free to send me an email, and I'd be happy to share my Amazon list with you. And sometimes you can get it for a better price. I can be thrifty. I like looking for the deals. So feel free to contact me if you are interested in seeing what I have in my kit. How am I using my Cuomo board? I use it, you know what? I use it some, we use it, we hook up Chromebooks to it. Kids use it for projects and presentations. We aren't using it probably as effectively as we could. And with hindsight, I'm not sure I would necessarily spend the money on that when I could have spent it on other stuff, but I don't regret buying it. It really makes an awesome backdrop for that timer during one of the escape rooms, but it's kind of expensive to be just a giant timer. It has a purpose. It's just perhaps maybe I would have gone with something a little more cost effective.
And it was, I can't remember the exact price off the top of my head. I don't know if it was maybe with a stand, maybe it was $3,000 in that area, Kristen, if that sounds right. But the other thing that we have too, we do have a movable, or it's on rollers, it's on a stand. Now we actually could allow it to leave the Innovation Center. We've not done that, but I think at least on the second floor for sure. I mean, it could fit through the doors, but one thing it has, we have, obviously teachers, everybody does with different heights, and it does go up and down, where you can just push a button with a remote and then it'll move to different heights, which does help. And I think the PD that we got from the company we purchased it from wasn't excellent, maybe at first. So, I don't know if all the teachers know how to use it. So I go back and forth on it if it was if we would do it again to purchase it. But I think as we learn more about it, it could be really useful. Also too, at our middle school, they actually have one that goes flat. If you remember kind of the old video games, if you used to go to Pizza Hut, maybe in the 80s, early 90s, where you'd sit down and you'd have the video game that was flat. They do have stands that will turn the Cuomo board into that kind of tabletop as well. And the question about the grant, it was a local grant. It was through the Delaware County, which we're located in, the Delaware County Foundation.
We've also used the Cuomo for Skyping. So our technology that day was not, the Wi-Fi that day wasn't the greatest, and the person with whom we were Skyping they were also having some Wi-Fi issues. So I'm hopeful that maybe we'll be able to use that more effectively in the future with a little bit more time and better Wi-Fi.
And I think some things, I mean, a lot of it we got right. And I know what we did too, and I can't remember, I believe we used it that day, but when we Skyped the photographer in from Australia, we used the sound system. We have a sound system that, because there are speakers on the Cuomo, but I think they're somewhat limited. So we did get the sound system, and we had big discussion if we were going to do a projector or what that would look like. But like I said, we go back and forth. But I think overall it was probably a good purchase. But we still haven't probably tapped into everything that we can do with it yet. And when we have a lot of downtime like this, I mean, I do have a librarian joke. If anybody wants to. Wants me to tell it, just put it up on the screen and let me know, and I'll tell it to you. Kristen loves it. She's only heard it like 18 different times. And you can tell too. I think a big part of it is, I mean, I think we have fun. We have fun working together, and I think that's a big part of our staff. Kristen on her own, does a lot with. She loves to feed our staff. She loves to, take care of people in our school. So for on her own for staff meet or for parent-teacher conferences at 3 o'clock, a lot of schools have their PTO do this. We have Kristen, and she feeds everybody, and really people just like, we kind of have a back room. They hang out there. A lot of teachers eat lunch there, and it really there's kind of PD and ideas and collaboration going on nonstop in that space.
That's how I started drawing people into the library. When I started working at Big Walnut, which is about 10 years ago, the library was not necessarily all that it could be. It was kind of dark and cavernous. So I was fortunate enough to be able to remodel the whole space. And after I did that, people still didn't come. So I started trying to figure out ways to entice them to come visit. I would go and visit them, but it's just not the same because I can't take everything with me. So I started by feeding them during conferences. That was the one way that I knew that I would be able to get people to come to me. They follow food. And it worked. And I see usually 3/4 of the staff in a 3-hour period of time. And some of them I just chat with, some of them I start putting out feelers to find out what they're getting ready to study. And then I can figure out how I can worm my way into their lives. Sometimes I make it better, sometimes I drive them crazy. So we all got to be good at something.
And I will say this, one of the other things she's very good at, she makes a brownie with pretzel in it, and I don't even know how it happens, but it's amazing. So I don't know if she'd ever give that recipe out. There was a question about the green screen, and you know, a lot of times I feel like we have the idea and then maybe it takes some time to fully implement it. And we've thrown a lot at Kristen. We also this year went one-to-one with Chromebooks, which was more work for Kristen than I could have possibly imagined. So she's got that. She kind of coordinates the Chromebooks for us on top of everything else that she does. But the green screen room, I think that's something that's starting to catch on, because the idea was it's a small room inside our innovation center. And, you know, my vision of that was, you know, teachers can put the chairs. We actually have enough room for 60. So 2 classes could be in there at the same time. We can do groups of, you know, 2 to 12 very easily. We've got the 5 dry erase boards that are front and back either side. So you could theoretically really have 10 groups of 6 in there working. And then if maybe one group was ready to produce a video, they could go in that green screen room. Teacher could monitor everything. Since it's right around the corner, it's still in the Innovation Center, they could pop back out, another group could go in. So one thing that I thought was really neat, we did get some technology to I think some iPads for that. But we had a student, I think it was a couple weeks ago or last week, had a green screen app on their phone and was able to create the video with a green wall right on their phone. So it's just amazing what they can do.
I have a student who comes in from study hall a couple times a week who creates videos for his YouTube channel using my green screen room. They're using it some, it's not a ton. I was hopeful, at the beginning of the year, we were hoping to have a tech squad group of kids to perhaps help other kids with technology and teachers. And that didn't really come together as well as we hoped. So it's on my list for next year. And I would like to see more demos and help for students who would like to be able to create their own videos, whether it's for a class assignment or even just for their own personal fun and games.
And I think, you know, that the way we envisioned the tech squad was it was going to be much larger. So it's very limited, and I think 2 or 3 students in there now, but hopefully that'll be an internship. We're looking to do that next year, which will be credit attached to it, and then we'll have more students in there and take more leadership on it, which I think is great. I'm also looking. Kristen's probably going to fight me maybe a little on this, but with everything that she's taking on, if the tech squad doesn't grow and help her like I hope it will, we're also going to see can we get teacher coverage in there to potentially help out maybe first period, last period of the day, to help with the checking in and checking out of the Chromebooks and everything else that she does, even though it's primarily throughout the day. But next year I really want to try to focus on our first period teachers, making sure that all the students have their Chromebooks charged, so we can kind of focus on that being hopefully 2 periods in every period.
We'll see.
We'll see. Now there's a question about video announcements. We actually have 2 different areas. We actually have an area downstairs, 2 floors below, that our video teachers use, which is probably it's a larger area. It's a larger studio. where actually we can do announcements from, and I think we'll do more of that next year. And we have a video team, so we do have that there, and maybe we can even tap into that experience a little bit to help with the students up there. So we wouldn't do the video announcements in that space, but once again, that would be that would be delegated to students that are working on group projects in the media center. I think it's funny. I don't know if anybody can notice this, but the lights just went out on me. Apparently, I haven't moved enough. We have motion lights, so I've been sitting here apparently long enough for the lights to go out. So I'm going to move just for a moment and turn those back on.
Our green screen room was at the generous donation of my husband. He is a painter by trade, so we bought a gallon of paint at Sherwin-Williams, and he painted 2 of my walls for me. We made it work, and it gives some interesting texture to some of the presentations, but that's just part of the charm, I like to say.
And I do like the idea of kind of the Genius Bar, and I think that's kind of what eventually we want to see the tech squad grow into. And as far as they can help with maybe some repairs on the and actually a couple of the students we have in there are doing that now. Some of the repairs on the Chromebooks help students that maybe have some questions, and eventually really get into helping them with the production aspect. I mean, that would be great to see them more involved in that way.
I have a student now, helper, who runs triage on the Chromebooks. I get them and I write down what's wrong with it, and I put it in a drawer for the tech guy to come by. And my helper during 5th period comes in and he pulls open the drawer and he pulls them all out and he looks to see which ones he can fix. He sometimes can fix 2 or 3 if I have 4 or 5. So I figure if that helps the tech guys out, then it's a win-win situation. Plus it keeps him from doing other things, which is
and he
always
really
good.
enjoys it. Yeah, I think he's one that if he's involved and engaged all around, he's better, and he's extremely knowledgeable. It's funny how many students you have that, their knowledge. I think his knowledge probably would match, several people that do this for a living.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and then the question about the tech support. Do you want to? I'll let Kristen touch on that. How you work with Jordan.
We have a tech support guy who makes house calls. He stops by almost once a day, sometimes twice, and picks up and drops off. If there's an immediate issue, like one day somehow Google was blocked from our computers, which makes using a Chromebook rather difficult. And all I have to do is send them an email or put in a help desk ticket, and they make sure that our issues are addressed very rapidly. I'm super pleased with the support that I get from the people in our tech department.
And we have another person that's a great resource and helps out Kristen from time to time we have an instructional technology coach that's in our building basically every other day, half the week. And he's helped. He's also been a resource on the escape rooms and helped Kristen with certain projects.
Oh, he's great. I would be lost without Jason and without Andy. It's really like a dream team sometimes.
With that said, have you noticed that we didn't have one request for the joke?
Obviously, they were all at your session last year and they already heard it.
Maybe that's it. And then the question about the G Suite or the Google for Education, we're just the Google for Education, correct? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're good.
Well, are there any other questions for Kristen and for Andy before we call it a night? Oh, Angela, do you have any trainings for your teachers on how to use tech in your library?
We don't have anything organized. The teachers, well, that's not true. On Thursdays after school, every other week, Jason runs PD in the library for teachers who are having issues with technology. The rest of the teachers, if they need help with something, they will ask. We have them very well trained to ask. And what I see as a huge part of my job is if I cannot help them, I usually know somebody who can help them. So I make sure that I get them hooked up with the person that they need to talk to.
And the other thing that we did before we rolled out the Chromebooks, going back to last year, we have a wonderful district office that was really aggressive with this. So about January, so January before rolling out the Chromebooks in August, we received our Chromebooks for our entire staff. So they have the exact same Chromebook that our students have. And then we did a tiered training that Jason, that we've mentioned earlier, Jason Manley, he did it at 3 basically back-to-back staff meetings that we had. And they had to move through the different tiers they could test out basically, because our staff was on a wide range of expertise on the Chromebooks. So they had the training, our staff had the training first in January. So then they had the Chromebook all summer to play with and feel more comfortable with. And then in August, then before school started, we had a short video and a presentation where students came and picked up their Chromebook. And then, you know, for that year. So I think getting the Chromebooks in the hands of our staff early was huge for us. And I think really has really helped our teachers feel comfortable with using it in class.
Oh, Andy, they want your joke.
Yes, let's hear your joke, Andy.
There's so much build up. It's really awful. I'm just reading to see if there was another question before I have to actually say the joke, but no. So here we go. Feel free to turn this off now if you want to, because I know this is the end. But a blonde goes into a library and says to the librarian, "I would like a Big Mac fry and a large Coke." And the librarian says, "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is a library." She says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." And then she says, "I would like fries and a large Coke and a Big Mac." Get it? She whispered in a library, but not understanding that you can't get McDonald's there. She thought the more concern was her volume. Well, thank you.
I will tell you that the jokes are abound aplenty at our school.
Well, thank you very much, Andy Jados and Kristen Macklin, for making our first Media on Air a success. And we'll look forward to seeing your presentations at OELMA.
I like Paula with "thanks for everything," not the joke, but thank you, Paula. Thank you.
So good night, everybody, and thank Jason too for putting the video together, and everyone can watch that. Brandy sent out the link a little earlier. So you could watch it before we did the on-air conversation. So thanks again, everyone. Have a good evening, and we'll talk soon.
Good night.